Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something pretty interesting happening in competitive bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's definitely evolving.
For so long, it was really structured around, male and female categories, the classic Mr. and Ms. Olympia setup.
Right, that binary division. But that's starting to shift, isn't it?
It really is. We're seeing, the emergence of new divisions.
Exactly. Divisions specifically designed for transgender and non-binary athletes. It's quite a notable change, actually.
So our mission today is basically to understand this evolution. We want to explore how these new divisions are taking shape.
And maybe touch on the different reactions to it all.
Absolutely. Consider the different viewpoints. So, let's start with the transition itself. What does creating these new divisions actually mean in practice?
Well, what's really fascinating is that we're talking about the concrete establishment of these categories, like actual new competition classes.
Not just talk, then.
No, bodybuilding organizations seem to be putting divisions in place specifically for trans men, trans women, and non-binary competitors.
So they can participate authentically.
That's the idea. Actual competitions where they fit, where they belong.
Okay, and even if our sources right now don't pinpoint exactly which big organizations are leading the charge, the fact these divisions exist implies rules are being adapted, right? You can't just add a category.
Precisely. It absolutely necessitates rethinking the traditional rule book.
Yeah.
Maybe developing new judging criteria too.
How so?
Well, criteria that consider the really diverse physiques and the different journeys of transgender and non-binary athletes. It's not one size fits all.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is where it probably gets, complicated. A fundamental shift like this.
Yeah.
Bound to stir up different reactions.
Oh, definitely.
What are we seeing? What are the perspectives on this increased inclusivity?
So you've got a significant amount of support for these changes. Many people see it as just essential.
Essential for fairness.
Fairness, representation, yeah. The goal there is really creating environments where trans and non-binary athletes feel genuinely welcomed.
And can compete as their true selves without compromise.
Exactly. That's a big part of the push.
But are there other sides to this? Any concerns or maybe alternative views being aired?
It's important to acknowledge, that there are different opinions out there. It's not universally agreed upon immediately.
Like what kind of opinions?
Well, some concerns might come from, deeply rooted views about how competitive categories should work. Maybe questions about competitive balance.
Okay. The level playing field argument?
Potentially, yes. Or just different ideas on the best way to actually implement these inclusive models effectively. It's a multifaceted discussion as the sport navigates this.
So if I'm summing this up, we have a sport, bodybuilding, with this very established, very binary structure.
Decades. Yeah.
Now making pretty significant moves towards being more inclusive. Specifically, creating these defined spaces for transgender and non-binary competitors.
That's the core of it. And it's clearly a developing situation, with all these different viewpoints being part of that conversation.
Right. And it makes you think beyond just bodybuilding too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Connecting it to the bigger picture. It really prompts you to consider the wider implications, for sports in general.
How so?
Well, seeing bodybuilding grapple with this and adapt its structure, it poses an interesting question for you, the listener. Could this kind of inclusive model,
finding ways to include trans and non-binary athletes in dedicated divisions.
Yeah. Could that be a potential direction for the future of other sports, too, more broadly?
That is definitely something to chew on. A powerful question. The sports world is always in flux, isn't it?
Constantly evolving.
And what's happening in bodybuilding gives us a really compelling, real-world example of how inclusivity can start reshaping even these really long-established competitive scenes.
A fascinating case study.
Well, thanks for digging into this deep dive with us today. Lots to think about.